I'm Mark.
And I'm Josh.
And this is Alter Ego Comics TV, episode number 76. We're going to kick things off this week with last week's top 5, counting down from 5. Number 5, Batman Incorporated number 1 by Grant Morrison and Chris Burnham, with lots of blood. At number 4, we have Teen Titans number 9. Looks like there was a tie. Explain this to me. What does that say?
3 and 4 were a tie.
Okay. And 2 and 1 were a tie?
They were. There's a lot of ties.
Okay. So number 4, Teen Titans number 9, which is huge. That was part of the reaping, the culling.
Whatever.
Yeah. Number 3, Secret Avengers number 27, which was an AVX tie-in. Coming in at number 2, Dark Knight number 9, and that was a Night of the Owls tie-in. And number 1, the surprise number 1 last week, Spiderman number 686, part of the Ends of the Earth storyline, which I love, and apparently you love too. So I'm glad to see that.
Yeah, so a lot of titles going neck and neck there, ties for 3rd and 4th and 1st and 2nd. And it's not too late to go out and get your Batman Incorporated number 1. Someday you're going to want that. You're going to take it home and slab it. That is the first appearance of Bat Cow.
Yes.
Necessary.
Moving right along.
On the news this week front, we've got X-Men Legacy 267, which is tying into something with a bird and space and Avengers. But this takes the continuation of the last issue, where we've got a team of, 8th, 9th tier Avengers? We got like Falcon and
Iron
Moon
Man's
Knight.
in there?
Yeah, but anyway.
Those guys are like 3rd tier at best, at worst.
Moon Knight? How did his series do? Does that sound over?
He was a West Coast Avenger.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
4th, 5th tier at best.
It's not like that guy who breathes fire on the X-Men, Fireface.
Chamber?
Yes.
He was a key part of Generation X. They got a TV
Chamber?
movie in the 90s. Did Falcon get a TV movie? No, he
Okay.
didn't. Anyway.
Racism.
So, yes, some Avengers are going to make sure that Wolverine's school keeps it cool. Make sure they don't get involved in the crossover and the punching of each other. And, of course, they do, because that's what the book's about. I really like this. There's a lot of cool character development. Rogue has been undergoing an arc. In a lot of ways, X-Men Legacy has been Rogue's book for the last couple of years. And this is a great Rogue issue. There's a lot of, not necessarily flashbacks, but referencing and consequences of her earlier fights. You know, her early appearances were as a villain fighting the Avengers. And it's just so cool the way she does things. And I don't want to spoil it for you. If you're a Rogue fan, if you're an Avengers fan, if you're an X-Men fan, this book is great. It's so much fun, and it's very different in feel from the other books. We've also got appearances by Gambit and Kitty, you know, more A-list level X-Men. And it's just a lot of fun.
And Chamber.
And Chamber.
Yes.
He breathes fire out of his neck.
But that was the part. That was the thing I liked most about it too. Was
The neck
character?
fire?
No,
Oh.
the character development. Neck fire's bad. The character development for Rogue, and just that's the great thing about X-Men Legacy, Wolverine and the X-Men. The X-books as a whole are showing a lot of character growth. These characters can't stay the same. You know, one of the biggest arguments this leads into the next book I'm going to talk about is with Wolverine opening this school and kind of losing his berserker side. You were really tempted to sing that song from Clerks, aren't you?
Maybe.
Losing his berserker side, but the guy has to evolve or the character grows stale and people get bored and they leave. So that's a great example with Rogue, showing her tremendous character development. And for bonus points, if you want to let us know in the comment section below, what was Rogue's first appearance? It ties in with what we just talked about here today. So anyway, you'll receive a no prize for that if you give us Rogue's first appearance. So Wolverine and the X-Men number 11 was the other AVX tie-in that came out this week. And we have a couple of different things going on. We've got Kid Gladiator wanting to be involved in the throwdown with the X-Men while his father, Gladiator Sr., is sending a retrieval team to go get him, but also this team to stop the Phoenix Force because, as you'll recall, the Shi'ar and the Phoenix Force don't exactly have the best relationship in the world. But we're still getting some great stuff with Wolverine and Hope, and actually this feels like a something you should read directly after Avengers vs. X-Men 4 or alongside Avengers vs. X-Men 4, because there's some great Wolverine Hope moments, and there's definitely some between the panel stuff that you don't see in Avengers vs. X-Men 4 that you get to see in Wolverine and the X-Men 11. And this series has just been, as you know, awesome from the start. There has not been a bad issue of Wolverine and the X-Men since it started.
And I mean, I wouldn't even call it backup stuff. I mean, when we finished reading, because we read it together, we held the book.
We do that all the time.
After we had both read AVX4, we were kind of like, we didn't understand exactly what had happened. I mean, we knew what happened, we couldn't understand the logic behind it. And this definitely fills that in. You understand where Hope and Wolverine are at, what they're thinking. It's must read if you're doing that. And now it is summer, the time when a man's fancy turns to annuals. And we've got 3 of them for you this week.
Or animals.
We've got that too, because the first up is the Animal Man Annual #1. This was actually a lot of fun. It is picking up from where the story is going on, but our current continuity is largely a framing story for a story being told about past champions of the red and the green. So you've got a previous inheritor of the Swamp Thing mantle. You've got a person who was previously the avatar of the red, and we get a flashback story about them, and it's a lot of fun. I like these little cool kind of history things that fill in and tell us where the characters have been previously, or where these universal forces have, and what's been going on. And you do see some parallels to the modern thing, as well as a little bit of foreshadowing. But it was just a great deal of fun. It's a cat telling a story to a little girl about rot and swamp monsters, and it's cool.
Everyone should read it. Next up on the annual list, Amazing Spider-Man Annual #39, and my first reaction upon seeing this was, it's not written by Dan Slott, why do I want to read this? I had to force myself to read this, even though I'm a big Spider-Man fan, and I'm glad that I did. It's written by Brian Reed, who did the Ms. Marvel series a few years ago over at Marvel, among other things. And if you like Back to the Future, you should read this annual. There is some sort of time displacement, some problem as a result of things going on at Horizon Labs, as usual, involving Grady. Grady, the guy who had his go-back-in-time break room a few issues ago and almost destroyed the world. But anyway, he's still messing with time, and somehow Peter Parker gets erased from existence. And when Peter goes to certain areas that are important in his history, there's a time quake, and we see Peter jumping around through time. And it's really almost an emotional... There's a lot of emotional bang to this story. If you read it, you would know what I'm talking about.
I read it.
Did you read it?
I totally did.
Shut up. And I don't want to spoil it any more than that, but bottom line, I was hesitant to read it because it doesn't have anything to do with what's going on in Spider-Man right now. It's not written by current Spider-Man writer Dan Slott, but I'm definitely glad I did because it was a very satisfying Spider-Man read, and there's time travel, so there's that.
Well, and even that, I mean, from a point of view of someone who's not reading the current Spider-Man, it's a cool all-time pickup story. You know, they tell you everything you need to know about what's going on in Spider-Man, and it is tied into the current continuity. I mean, Peter's working at Horizon and whatnot, and it's fun.
Yeah,
time travel is cool.
It's a good standalone read.
Yeah, anybody can read it. If you like Spider-Man, check that out. And last up on our list of annuals, we have Batman #1. Batman Annual #1. This is a tie-in to the Night of the Owls, except not really. I don't think there's a talent in this entire book.
They're mentioned.
There is mentioned, but the reason it's a tie-in to Night of the Owls is because Dr. Strange? Wow.
Mr. Freeze.
Mr. Freeze. You know, that guy with the bowl on his head. Mr. Freeze is the main character in the story, really, and it gives us kind of the New 52 version of his origin, and it's just super awesome. I was a little concerned. I got about halfway through it, and I'm like, all right, Scott Snyder, do better. This isn't up to your standards, but it was. The last third of the book really brings it home. It's cool on so many levels, and there is some changes to the status quo, or at least the status quo for the characters involved, and super cool.
Yeah, I mean, this was easily my pick of the week. It's co-written by Scott Snyder and James Tipton. Is that the guy from the Actors Studio?
Yes.
James Lipton.
That's the soup guy.
And it definitely has the feel of a Scott Snyder book, and the artwork is by this guy who I ain't never heard of before, and it was really good. I could tell from the cover I was going to like the artwork, because it's a rarity we have the same person doing the cover and the interiors in a book. But as Josh said, if you're a fan of Mr. Freeze, if you're a Batman fan, you need to read this because it's a game changer for the character of Mr. Freeze. They tinker with his origins a little bit, and the way they did it was awesome. It's just a lot of fun. And in addition to Batman and Mr. Freeze, we've got the Penguin in here, we've got Nightwing, we've got Damian, Robin, and it was just a lot of fun. And you get your money's worth in this one. It's an annual. There's lots of story, and it's really good. Easily my pick of the week.
Very cool.
So that's it. Kind of a light week this week. Next week will be the avalanche of things as AVX and Night of the Owls, and before Watchmen starts next week with Minutemen #1. So we have all this stuff that will be showing up the first week of June, and we'll be right back here to tell you all about our favorites. Thanks again for watching. Don't forget, where did Rogue first appear? Put it in the comments. See ya!